Hey guys, this is Courtney and welcome to my Aussie Wild chapter for 30 Days Wild. Now I did have a completely different plan for my first video, however I find myself at Lone Pine Koala Sanctuary today, so I thought I'd take you around the park and show you some of our native wildlife you can find at the sanctuary. Now the first animal that I'm joined by today is our native emu. Now emus belong to a group of birds called ratites. They're a flightless group of birds, and also in the ratite group is rheas and kiwis, cassowaries and ostriches. Now the emu is the second largest, whoops, it's gone out of focus there, of all of the ratite birds. They can reach up to 1.9 meters in height, coming in second only to the ostrich. Now we do have another of our ratites here at Lone Pine Koala Sanctuary, the cassowary, which is very shy, so it's hidden away behind some trees at the moment. But cassowaries are the third largest ratite in the world, and again a flightless bird. Now cassowaries are really special because not only are they incredibly beautiful with their lovely blue neck and their red and yellow wattle as well. Oh, it's very dusty all of a sudden. But they're really important in their ecosystems because they're one of the main seed distributors in the rainforest, and they're the only animal that's capable of digesting several seeds that you can find in the rainforest. Now, cassowaries are actually endangered due to habitat loss and hunting. Oh, and there goes our emu. And if they were to go extinct, then the rainforest itself would be in a lot of trouble because a lot of those seeds wouldn't be able to germinate. Several of the seeds that it swallows have a 98% germination rate after digestion and drop down to a 2% germination rate if they're not swallowed and digested by the cassowary. So they're really important in their ecosystems. Now I think we'll move on and see what other animals we can find today. Now this time we're joined by what I think is a swamp wallaby. Now wallabies belong to a group of animals called marsupials. Marsupials are something that Australia is really well known for. A marsupial is an animal that has a very short gestation period. The baby's only inside its mum for a very short period of time, and it spends the rest of its development inside a pouch. You can tell if it's male or female whether or not it has a pouch. This one looks like it's probably a female. So after that very short gestation, the joey will be born, and it will actually have to climb up its mother and into the pouch, and the mother will often lick her belly to give that baby a little path to climb up. And the baby does have to do the rest of the work on its own, which sounds kind of mean, but this actually just helps to ensure that it's the strongest of her offspring that survive. Now she will have 2 nipples inside that pouch, so she's capable of nursing 2 different joeys at different times, and they won't necessarily be the same age either. So she'll give birth to 1 joey at a time, and when one is large enough to be getting out of the pouch from time to time, she'll give birth to another, and that one will climb in and both will be able to nurse inside that pouch. We found another type of marsupial here. This is a wombat. Now wombats are special because they actually have a backwards facing pouch. This is really important because wombats burrow to make their home. And if they had a normal pouch that faced towards their head, then they'd get full of soil and dirt. So because they have that upside down pouch, the little babies don't get covered in dirt when their mum is burrowing. Now as well as that awesome upside down pouch, wombats also have an armoured hide. They have really thick skin on their rump, and this helps protect them from any predators that might want to scratch at them while they're fast asleep in their burrow. So they're well protected, and so are their young. Now this time we have my favourite marsupial and one of my favourite animals. This is a Tasmanian devil. Now again, just like the wombat, Tasmanian devils have a backwards facing pouch because they also live in burrows. In fact, a lot of Tasmanian devils won't bother excavating their own burrow. They'll actually take over an old wombat hole. So they have quite a good relationship with wombats in Tasmania. And speaking of Tasmania, these devils are actually endemic to that island. It's the only place in the world that you will find them in the wild. Now Tasmanian devils are the largest carnivorous marsupial, meaning that they only eat other animals, and they'll also eat lots of carrion. So they have a really important role in cleaning up any carcasses that might otherwise develop and spread disease. They used to be trumped by the thylacine, otherwise known as the Tasmanian tiger. However, that has very sadly been driven to extinction since Australia was colonised over 200 years ago. Now we have another little one over here having a snooze. There we go. These guys are most active at night. That's when they tend to do most of their hunting and their foraging because they're nocturnal animals. Now we're moving away from our marsupials very briefly. We found the dingoes here at the sanctuary and it looks like they've just been fed. Now they've been fed in these little cardboard tubes that you can see, and those tubes were wrapped up in that big lot of bark, and that meant that the dingoes have to actually find their food rather than it just being laid out for them. And that's really, really important because it keeps the animals stimulated and encourages their natural behaviors. We call this enrichment. Now, a dingo's diet can vary massively, all the way from teeny tiny insects up to animals the size of a buffalo, and that will depend on the lifestyle that they have at the time, whether they're living as individuals or in a pack. Now, unfortunately, I don't have a live platypus here, but this is a platypus skeleton. Now, platypuses were actually believed to be a hoax when they were first brought back to the UK because they were just so bizarre looking, like some kind of cross between a duck and a beaver. However, it was eventually discovered that they are in fact real, and they are a monotreme. Now, a monotreme is a special kind of mammal that lays eggs, and the only other monotreme in the world is the echidna. Now, platypuses are almost completely blind, so they rely on EMP to find their food. And right now, although we can't see the platypuses very well in their habitat, there are live crayfish in there waiting to be hunted down. Our last animal that we're going to look at today, which I know Laura is going to absolutely love, is the flying fox. Now, flying foxes are crucial to keeping native forests healthy. They play an important role in dispersing seeds and pollinating flowering plants. In fact, it's estimated that a single flying fox can dispense up to 60,000 seeds in one night. Now, the female flying foxes will give birth to one live young per year, and the baby will cling to the mother's belly for the first 3 weeks until it becomes too heavy to carry. And of course, because we're at the koala sanctuary, we have to have just a little bit of footage of our koalas. Aren't they adorable? Thanks for joining me at Lone Pine Koala Sanctuary. I hope that I managed to pique your interest in Australian animals. Now, one thing that I didn't go into a lot of detail about during our tour was the threats that a lot of these animals are facing. Disease can be a really big problem in a number of these populations. For example, koalas are facing troubles with their reproduction through the spread of chlamydia, and Tasmanian devils are facing huge drops in their numbers due to devil facial tumour disease. However, things like disease are rapidly exacerbated due to habitat loss, deforestation, and habitat fragmentation. Now, habitat fragmentation is when you have a huge amount of habitat and you stick a giant highway right through the middle, and then you have two separate plots of habitat. The problem there is that animals end up isolated in the smaller habitat, and you get a lot of inbreeding depression. Now, one way that we can tackle issues like that all over the world is by using recycled paper goods, so tissues, toilet paper, any printer paper, things like that. If you look for recycled paper, then that will be doing animals a huge favour. But as well as that, you can look out for the FSC logo on anything that you're buying. That's the Forest Stewardship Council, and anything with that logo on it means that it's come from a sustainable source and it hasn't damaged the habitat that not only amazing Australian animals, but animals all over the world need. Thank you guys so much for joining me, and I hope you enjoy the rest of 30 Days Wild.